edition. Reckless Speculation.
Yes, welcome in to this Reckless Speculation Thursday. Our friend Darren Doogie Wolfson from the 5 Eyewitness News Sports Department. You can find his weekly Scoop podcast on scorenorth.com and anywhere else you find podcasts. He brings inside information about your favorite local sports teams here. Doogie, we have been just on an absolute Timberwolves offseason speculation bender this week.
I love it. Bring it on, Phil.
They don't have a draft pick as of right now, and so we're just looking ahead to trades and different things. So I guess just a broad question to start with. The Suns and the Hawks have both just made these ridiculous, mediocre rises to their respective conference finals. They might play each other in the NBA final. I still think the Bucks win that series, but is there hope for the Wolves to make a big jump, depending on what they do this offseason? And what can they learn from the Suns and the Hawks?
Well, define a big jump. Like, to me, a big jump for this franchise is just to become relevant across the landscape of the Western Conference. So that, to me, entails next year. Judd and I talked about this on Wednesday. I don't think the play-in tournament is going anywhere. The NBA hasn't made it official that the play-in tournament will be back next year, but presumably it will be. So for the Wolves, for them to become relevant in the landscape of the Western Conference, they need to be one of the top 10 seeds. So even if they're the 9 or the 10 seed and have an opportunity to play themselves in to a first-round playoff series, or if we're defining that then as a second-round playoff series, whatever, moving on from that play-in tournament, that to me would be, them proving that there is some sense of relevancy. But they still need all sorts of work with that roster, Phil. Like, this roster is not complete. And you mentioned, all sorts of different trade possibilities. Going back to May, I did a season wrap-up, about a 35-minute conversation with Gerson Rosas on the Scoop podcast soon thereafter, or maybe it was a week before, whenever. I talked to Glenn Taylor. Both Glenn and Gerson said the path to them improving this roster this summer is via a trade or multiple trades, that they are going to explore all sorts of trade possibilities. That we now know they don't have a top 3 pick. You mentioned it. They don't have a draft pick. People forget that they actually gave up their second-round pick in that Russell-Wiggins trade as well. And, that would have been pick, 36? It would have been top 38, top 39. That's a pretty good pick that, unfortunately, the Wolves don't have. But that they can make some trades to improve. They do potentially have the mid-level exception depending on some things. So that's what I mean, where they're not now tied to giving the first overall pick, the second overall pick, the third overall pick, a monster, rookie contract. Although that would have been a good problem to have, right? Like if you had a top 3 pick, hey, fantastic. But they now have a little bit more flexibility in terms of maybe bringing in a street free agent. But I don't think you're bringing in anybody of substance that way. Maybe somebody that can be a rotation guy, but like whether it's a Miles Turner, a Ben Simmons, those are 2 common names, maybe some other names. What happens in Washington with Bradley Beal, maybe some other potential possibilities. Like that's the path to them, wholeheartedly improving this roster and making a run as soon as next year. As it relates to the Suns and the Hawks, Phil, like you see it, Trae Young, Devin Booker, I guess the hope would be that the Wolves have this dynamic scoring wing, a guy that can create on his own in Anthony Edwards, that Anthony is the alpha, that if this team is going to take a jump or a significant jump up, that it's going to be on the back of Anthony Edwards, not Karl Anthony Towns or D'Angelo Russell.
So what do they have to trade? So if the Wolves Dukes are going to make a substantial deal, because we're talking about some pretty big names here, it's clearly not going to be, hey, you know what? You take a Kogi and Culver and it's going to be fantastic. What do the Wolves realistically have to trade if they're going to reshape or remake part of this roster?
By the way, do you have an Eddie Rosario bobblehead? Why do we have Brad Rackey? Eddie Rosario making his return to Target Field
He's at home
tonight.
right now.
He was at Red Cow last night.
Oh, was he really?
Yes, I'm a Red Cow. Yeah.
Oh, boy, let's scoop. Declan's hiding scoops.
Big time
Declan's hiding
scoops.
Huge. Was he swinging at everything that walked by?
Every burger that came,
He was
whether
like,
it was
just
high
give
or
that to me
low,
now.
he
Yep.
was like ultimate burger, 40, 60, it doesn't matter, from the chin to the knees. He was putting them down.
Look at Declan coming through. It's a Reckless Speculation Thursday about Red Cow.
Well, I just came from, how about this for name dropping? Sam Hentges will be the starting pitcher for the Indians on Saturday. He went to Mounds View High School, so I was just hanging out at his childhood home. I caught up with mom and dad in Shoreview. So the Indians, like the Twins, had Wednesday off, the rare Wednesday off day.
I know, it's
So
weird.
the Indians flew to town after their Tuesday night game, got in, 2, 3 in the morning. But it was cool for Sam to be able to go see Grandma up in Monticello yesterday, to be able to catch up with his family. His sister Annie is celebrating her 23rd birthday today. He was able to be there for dinner last night to celebrate
So he's vaxxed.
her birthday. So, so what I'm getting at is the Indians are one of those teams that's at the 85% threshold, right? I mean,
Yeah.
the evidence that Declan provided, right? Eddie Rosario being able to go to Redcon.
Yeah.
Like the Cubs are not at 85%. So if you're Anthony Rizzo, if the Cubs were in town right now, you weren't going to see Anthony Rizzo at Redcon.
No,
All right,
you
so
would
that's a
not.
good scoop, Declan. But anyway, to answer your question, Judd, Ricky Rubio is an expiring contract.
Okay.
Malik Beasley has 2 years guarantee left on his deal as he sits in the Wright County Jail. But when he's in the right frame of mind, when he's on the court, he...
The way that you dropped that
Yeah,
in,
I know.
He's not working out. He's in the Wright County jail.
Yeah, well, and I told you...
How'd you spend your summer? Wright County jail.
Yeah, and Phil and Declan, I mean, he has the option to pursue a work release at some point here relatively soon. The question is, are the Wolves on board with some sort of work release, signing all that paperwork? But yeah, I can promise you Malik would love to get out of that Wright County jail cell sometime in the very, very near future, not have to serve all, whatever it is, 85, 90 days, 95 days. Might be a little shorter than that because of good behavior. But he might have a little bit of value, but I don't know teams that are banging down the door to trade for Malik Beasley, but he's got that money that as you try to make the money work, that maybe he's a piece, but certainly Rubio as an expiring contract has value, that he can still help a team, and teams love the fact that, they can get him off the books 1 year from now. The thing is, though, Anthony Edwards on the lottery telecast on Tuesday name dropped Rubio, said Ricky Rubio, I'm paraphrasing slightly, but the point was Anthony Edwards said Ricky Rubio had as big an impact on me, my success, my rookie year, as anybody. So if you're the Wolves, do you really want to move Ricky Rubio? But it's Rubio, it's Beasley. Sure, can you throw in a Culver, Okogie? You could. Is Gerson open-minded to moving a future first-round pick? I'm not necessarily on board with that, but if you can bring in a superstar, I don't think you're moving a future first-round pick to bring in Miles Turner, but if that's part of a Ben Simmons package, a Bradley Beal package, okay. I wouldn't be shocked if he thought about that, But yeah, I mean, they're somewhat limited, right? I don't think D'Angelo Russell is going anywhere. You can concoct any D'Angelo Russell to Philadelphia possibility you want where Simmons ends up here. I think the idea is to combine the former high school teammates, Russell and Simmons. Yes, they played together in high school in Florida. The idea would be to have those guys together. So you're not moving, I don't think, Russell to Philadelphia. So I think the idea is Russell is here. Cat's not going anywhere. Anthony Edwards isn't going anywhere.
How would you make that? Would you make that work
suppose-
under the luxury tax, though? Could you, let's say there was a conceivable way with future draft picks, Malik Beasley's contract. People make fun of Rubio, but that contract is very valuable for trade purposes.
It is.
It's
Absolutely.
a fat expiring contract.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, could you fit conceivably Simmons, D'Lo, Ant does not make much money for the next few years, and Cat, could you make all that work and still have a supporting cast?
You know what, though? Those rookie scout contracts have gone up. You should look.
It's
Anthony
10
Edwards'
million.
money.
Yeah.
Yeah. Which I guess, big picture, sure. And his next contract is going to trump the rookie deal big time. But it's still $10-ish million, $11 million. So it's still a decent chunk of change. You're right, because you pay the luxury tax, which Glenn's already done. They went into the luxury tax after the Russell trade after last year. You typically go into the luxury tax when you're on the cusp of making a really, really deep run. You feel like maybe not, NBA Finals run, but that you have a legit chance to make the conference finals. You're not paying the luxury tax if you're the 14th seed in the Western Conference. So that's where you would need to send out money, Phil. So that's where the Beasley money, the Rubio money, Culver, Okogie. I don't think they're married to any of those guys. The question would be this. Jaden McDaniels looks like he has a really bright future, but what exactly is his ceiling? You love the fact that he can guard multiple positions. You feel okay with Jaden guarding threes. You feel okay with him guarding fours. I think he can guard some twos. But what's the offensive ceiling for Jaden McDaniels? I think that's an interesting conversation to have. But, could he be the feature piece? You need to make the money work, so that's where you throw in a Rubio, his expiring deal, Beasley, whatever. But would some team fall in love with the idea of acquiring Jaden McDaniels? And if so, would Gerson move McDaniels?
Okay, on the Ben Simmons front, so we've all seen, I don't think we've brought this up on this show, but there's a Stephen A. Smith clip circulating from First Take a couple days ago where he gets a text message from somebody very close to the Sixers situation and Ben Simmons that told him he doesn't work hard, he surrounds himself with family that just feeds into saying yes to everything, that he's not a grinder, and that there's some deficiencies that might not be easily fixable by just shooting free throws more often this offseason. And then, of course, Jimmy Butler exits Philadelphia a couple years ago, much in the same way that he exited Minnesota, and the guy that he was down on was Ben Simmons. He loves Joel Embiid. So does it make you? I know the answer for Judd, but does it make you pause at all that we're hearing some of this stuff about Ben Simmons' work ethic and personality?
It doesn't, but it depends on what I'm giving up to bring him in. I understand all that steam, though. Like, I think there's probably a decent amount of truth to what Stephen A. Smith put out there. There's some of that dialogue, some of that chatter out there in league circles, that there is some laziness there, that the work ethic isn't A+. But I would still take my chances with a player of that caliber. When I look at the Wolves' deficiencies, they have all sorts of warts defensively. Ben Simmons is a legit first-team all-defensive player, and he can guard multiple positions. Like, you feel comfortable with him, just like Philadelphia did in the series against Atlanta, him guarding Trae Young full court, right?
Yeah.
Like, you put him on the opposition 6'1", initiator of that offense, point guard, if you want to call it that. Ben can guard so many different positions. The thing is with Ben, the one thing he can't do is the number one skill you need in the league. It's put the ball in the basket, right? But he does everything else so darn well. So, whether he's a great practice player, puts the time in the weight room, I still think he produces enough. I think we're fixating too much on his failures in that Atlanta series that if you go deeper than that, there's so much to like about Ben. So I would be completely on board. If you have an opportunity to land Ben Simmons, you do it, especially if you're keeping Russell, Edwards, Towns. I just don't know how the Wolves make that work, because I think if you're Daryl Morey, Phil, you are going to have myriad options. You are going to have 5, 6, 7 different trade possibilities if you truly entertain shopping and ultimately moving Ben Simmons. Like, to me, the trade that makes complete sense is Portland finally blowing up that backcourt of McCollum and Damian Lillard. Now is the ideal time, as they're about to hire a new coach, probably Chauncey Billups, but maybe somebody else, that you move McCollum. Philadelphia needs more shooting. Seth Curry can't do it all. That you move McCollum for Ben Simmons. You combine Simmons with Lillard. Like, to me, that trade makes so much sense. But there's some other possibilities. So I'm just saying, if you're the Wolves, how do you trump what Portland can offer, what some other teams can offer? But if you do have that opportunity, I'm telling you, I would be all in on bringing Ben Simmons here.
So if you're Gerson and you are trying to compete to get him, Doogie, what do you offer to the Sixers? Where do you start and end to try and at least be competitive with a team like Portland?
Well, Beasley, because they need shooting.
Okay.
But Beasley is not the central figure in a trade package that you would put together. But Beasley goes to Philadelphia, all right? At least one future first, right? I mean, that would be the idea. If you're giving up a future first, you're bringing in a legit all-star. Ben Simmons is that, all right? I'm telling you, do not hyperanalyze just these 7 games against Atlanta. There's a lot to like about Ben Simmons. All right, so you would give up at least one future first. The question is, would it take 2 future firsts? Then I suppose it's Rubio. You got to make the money work. So
it's probably it might have to be a 3-year deal too, or a 3-way deal, in that, like, Beasley goes to Philly. Maybe Rubio does or doesn't go to Philly, but the first-round pick goes somewhere else. Like, that's how most of these deals come to fruition.
It is. And don't forget, Phil, Sachin Gupta in the Wolves front office, the creator of the trade machine.
The trade machine guy. This should be easy for the Timberwolves.
Trust me, they concoct a lot of different 3 and 4 team trade ideas. So you're right about that, where maybe Rubio doesn't end up in Philly. He ends up somewhere else. I think if Philly does move Simmons, though, and it's not for another, big-timer like a C.J. McCollum, that you're probably ending up with 2 future firsts. That I would think it would take multiple. That it's not just one.
Okay.
But could it be one plus Jaden McDaniels? Like, that's where I'm saying
But
maybe where Jaden comes into play.
Like, are we back to trusting the process again? Because, I mean, in that town...
Well, no. I mean, Embiid, the clock is ticking with that contract.
Right.
If you're Philadelphia, after you bring in Doc Rivers, you're thinking about making another serious run next year. And that, I guess, would be a decent segue to Indiana today, rehiring Rick Carlisle. Carlisle was their coach many, many years ago. Rick Carlisle is now back. I heard on my drive in that it's a 4-year, $29 million contract. So you're paying Rick Carlisle all sorts of money because you think you can make a run next year. That you have Brogdon, you have Sabonis, and now TJ Warren, who missed all of the season. He is now healthy. He's back, and he's a good player. And you've got Karis LeVert, and you have Miles Turner. Now, I'm not suggesting that Indiana now isn't going to move Turner, but if they do move Turner, it's for some sort of return that helps them make a run next year, that they're not moving Turner for, McDaniels or, a future first, that they want something that can help them immediately. And until I hear that Indiana has interest in Malik Beasley, which is possible, but until I hear that, I have a hard time believing that the Wolves can trump what some other teams can offer. Like Charlotte wants Miles Turner. There's some talk of maybe the Lakers, depending on what happens with Andre Drummond, that the Lakers. Now, I'm not suggesting the Lakers can offer a great package, but I think the Hornets can probably come up with a decent package where if you're the Wolves, how do you trump what other teams can offer? So I'm positive, Phil, like right now in Chicago at the Combine, Gerson is there, right? He's in person with all these other front office executives. There's a lot of trade chatter happening right now, but if you're the Wolves, how do you end up making the best offer possible, beating out what other teams can offer?
I'll tell you what, too, just sort of independent of all these potential trades and moves they can make, watching these NBA playoffs, if you would have told me going in, all right, Steph's out, LeBron's out, Kawhi's going to get injured, and like all these top stars are going to be out, I would have said, ooh, this might be a rough watch, but it's been one of the most fun playoffs I can remember in recent history. It's much more like the NHL where it's wide open, it's fast, there's just great basketball being played. And you already brought up some of these names, these let's call them offense initiation guards, right? Call them a point guard, you want to call them a combo guard, the Trae Youngs, the Donovan Mitchells, Devin Booker. And the hope is that the Wolves have that in Ant, right? But the biggest thing with those three guys specifically, with Donovan Mitchell, Trae Young, and Devin Booker, and there's a couple others we could name, they are great leaders. They have that dog personality. I mean, look at Devin Booker with blood running down his nose. He's a leader. Like, he's learned a lot from Chris Paul just in terms of, I think, how to take that next step and have that Kobe-like mindset. What does the organization think of Ant Edwards as a personality and a leader going forward, Doogie?
I think they really like his personality, his potential to be a really good leader. He still is 19 years old. He will not be 20 for approximately 6 weeks. That they feel like he's got a lot of that bulldog to him. That any talk of him not loving basketball is hogwash. Mm-hmm. That he truly does love the sport. That he wants to be uber great. That there's a lot to like. But you think about shot selection, you think about shot making, you think about his three-point shot specifically. Forget the defensive end that needs all sorts of work. His offensive game still needs all sorts of work. But there is a belief that the player that Edwards will be at 21, 22, 23 is going to be a lot different than the player we see at 19 and 20.
As far as he goes as well, Dukes, what do you think the thought process is on how long it's going to take to get him to be as complete a player? Because I think locker room wise, I think he's fantastic. And at 19, that's impressive, which allows, as we talked about during the course of the season, allows Towns to sort of slide into a role that Karl Anthony Towns is probably going to be more comfortable at. So what's that process as far as making Ant a player that they feel that to where that step is taken?
It was a weird year last year, right? No summer league.
And no practice.
No real true training camp in the sense of how we think about traditional training camp. Yep. No true preseason. Yeah, a couple exhibition games, but not a real preseason. I mean, think about this summer. Like, he's playing for the USA Select team coached by Eric Spoelstra, Miami Heat head coach. Think about playing against Bradley Beal and Damian Lillard and Jason Tatum in practice. You know, these televised scrimmages that will take place here next month. Like, how great is that? Like, think about the step forwards. You know, he should take the multiple steps forward he should take this summer, just having that experience. And Gerson mentioned, maybe get him into one summer league game, but who cares about that August? It's these scrimmages.
Yes.
It's being around Team USA, Chris Middleton, and go up and down the list of all these studs. Like, this is a huge deal this summer. You know, like, I don't think you can overstate that. Really, seriously. So, you know, the experience of this summer, heading into the full 82-game schedule, come next season, there should be a considerable leap. That the experience, that you know, returning to some sense of normalcy, a large sense of normalcy, and having this specific experience out in Vegas here, these next handful of weeks, that will aid him greatly.
Yeah. Dukes, we know that you are on a tight schedule today, so if you've got some rapid-fire scoops here outside of the Timberwolves, fire away, man.
Well, I can tell you, I mean, the Wolves are still, you know, they're interviewing prospects. I mean, they get interview time with these prospects. So like Mac McClung, who just had a good year at Texas Tech, started his collegiate career at Georgetown. He was actually part of the G League Combine earlier this week. I don't know if he got an invite to the NBA Draft Combine, but anyway, he's one of the prospects they've interviewed the last handful of days. And the Wolves are going to host this big draft workout in early July that multiple teams will come in, you know, presumably when you know, you're hosting, but these teams are coming in, you're splitting the costs.
Right.
You just happen to have the gym space to be able to host such an event. But, you know, the draft process is ongoing, even though they don't have a draft pick, right? Because they need to assemble an Iowa Wolves roster. They need to assemble a Summer League roster. You look at the last two drafts, post-2019 draft, they signed undrafted free agent Naz Reid. Post-2020 draft, they signed undrafted free agent Ashton Hagens, good guard out of Kentucky, who unfortunately did some stupid stuff off the court down in the G League bubble in Orlando, and the Wolves decided to part ways. But that was a shrewd move at the time that a lot of people thought Hagens would get drafted. So for the Wolves to secure his services right after the draft was a win. So the Wolves are going to go that route again. You know, I mean, there's going to be some good players that don't get drafted next month. Yeah. So that's why the Wolves are doing all this draft homework. Otherwise, I'm trying to think what else, Phil. Jamal James, Shango, really good local boxer. He's got one of the championship belts. He is going to fight in August. This isn't out there, so, you know, mini scoop if you're into boxing. He is going to be on this big card in Vegas in August. It's the Manny Pacquiao card. I don't know if Manny is just the promoter, but MGM, one of the big venues out in Vegas, big pay-per-view event. This will be his biggest payday. He's going to fight some fighter out of Eastern Europe or Russia. I don't have the specific name. But anyway, this will be Jamal James's
I must kill you.
biggest fight coming up here before the summer is over. Yeah, Minneapolis-based, really good championship boxer. So if you're into boxing at all, you probably know who Jamal James is. So cool note on Jamal James. I'm trying to think what the heck else. I'm talking to Joel Corey here in a few minutes, former NFL agent.
About Danielle Hunter's contract?
Yeah, about Danielle Hunter's contract. So he'll provide some
won,
great clarity
FYI.
on that. The Vikings did win, but if you're Danielle and you feel like you are going to rebound, that we will see the Danielle Hunter we saw in 17, 18, and 19, that you are going to get paid next March.
Yeah. That's Darren Doogie Wolfson.
Reckless speculation.
On this Reckless Speculation Thursday, inside information about your favorite local sports teams, 5 Eyewitness News, and the Scoop podcast. We'll see you next week, buddy.
Sounds good. And on the Twins, they got a bunch of draft people down in Cary, North Carolina. Major League Baseball finally doing a draft combine. We talk about the basketball
welcome to
draft combine.
Yay.
Yes, Major League Baseball, welcome to the year 2021 doing a draft combine. So I know Sean Johnson, Twins draft boss, some other scouts, some medical personnel are right now in Cary, North Carolina. The only local player participating is a kid from Mounds View High School, Will Rogers, who is going to Arizona State. Don't think he gets drafted high enough to sign, but really good catching prospect that'll end up playing at Arizona State.
Nice. All right.
Reckless speculation.
There he is. All right, Dukes. We'll talk soon.
Okay. See you, boys. Bye-bye.
All right. By the way, those scoops presented by our friends at Federated Mutual Insurance Company. It's severe weather season for the next few months in the state of Minnesota, and electrical outages can sometimes interrupt your business, whether it's disrupting phone systems, security systems, refrigeration systems, which, by the way, that could be a problem at home, too. If Judd's beer goes cold, you got problems. I don't know
No,
if
goes
Federated-
warm. Goes warm.
That's what I
If my
meant.
refrigerator gives out, it's
Oh,
over.
boy.
Yep. So
I will
Federated
move out. Abandon the house.
Federated can't help Judd with that problem, but they do have great resources to help you plan for weather emergencies with your business. Go to the risk management corner at federatedinsurance.com. And remember, at Federated, it's our business to protect yours.
Can I ask a question?
I can't get enough of this wolf stuff. This is so much fun.
Me too, but I got a bigger question than that. This show, 3 people, pretty tight, I got to admit. I mean, reckless speculation family, right?
Sure.
Like immediate family.
Yeah.
I might be sports dad.
Really nice of you.
Phil,
Yeah.
uncle, Declan, brother. And I feel like when we have RS in the family, that we immediately tell the other guy. RS. We share RS. Reckless speculation shared freely. Declan, when were you going to tell us that you saw Eddie Rosario at Red Cow?
Saw it last night.
No, but I mean, what?
I buried the lead there.
Well, yeah, and you brought it in as an afterthought.
In fact, let's
Like
go
if Phil
back here.
if Phil saw Rosario in Seattle, he would tell us immediately.
Absolutely.
Okay.
Okay, so here's the funny thing. So the three of us, have a text thread that we're just on it all day. We'll just throw random links on Twitter. We'll sometimes we'll rip fellow people in the local sports landscape and snicker amongst ourselves. It's just a lot of fun stuff on this text thread. So Declan saw Eddie Rosario at dinner last night, and while he was presumably seeing Eddie Rosario at dinner, he's sending us random texts about the NHL game last night. A screenshot from a Judd's Hockey Show episode on our YouTube page.
Yes.
Another text about how much fun that hockey game was last night. And here's a link to the Twins potentially not being ready to consider trading everyone. Like, you're texting us all this stuff,
Right.
but you're burying the lead, which is that you saw Eddie Rosario.
The most
at
important
Red
part
Cow
of your
last
night.
Yeah.
Yeah. Sorry. I did a takeout. I just did takeout.
Yeah, but
And there was Eddie Rosario and family at the local Red Cow that I live by.
I just feel like that's far more important than anything Phil just read us from the text thread
I
last
disagree.
night.
I was making nice conversation. I was trying to give out some fodder for tomorrow's show and
Right, but
everything else.
Rosario being at Red Cow is fodder for the show.
Speaking of texts, as I look at these texts, I have 76 unread text messages
Oh my God, that gives me anxiety.
How do you do that?
on one specific thread with our friend Jake Depew about the Twins.
Oh,
I have a
because
couple
he just
different.
goes 1, 1, 1, 1, 1. Yeah.
So I'll have to catch up on those.
all my group texts, my siblings, yours, a couple other friends, all muted at all times. I hate constant notifications on my phone.
I feel you
drives
there.
me nuts.
I
Wait,
finally
The
muted
family one?
Even the family one.
But what if something what
I'll
if
get a
they-
call. I will get a call. If
Well,
it's an
you're also
emergency, I'll get a call.
you're also checking your phone at least
Yeah, and
3 or 4
like-
times an hour, anyways. So
Absolutely. I'm addicted to my phone. Like, my screen time is probably an average of 6 hours a day, which is
yeah.
pretty damn high.
Yeah, I'm at the same.
Yeah.
6 hours.
I've had
or
to mute a couple. Like sometimes, like if my wife grabs my phone for if her phone's dead or whatever, and
Boy.
she's right.
something. Yeah.
And
Where's this
and
going?
you would think, what embarrassing things could be on a guy's phone, right? All the side chicks that you're talking
Right.
to, like
And that's your
Judd.
other phone. And that's your other
Right.
phone.
Pacific
so-
Northwest, man. Never know.
For me, the embarrassing thing is when she's looking at my phone or on the Amazon account or something, and there's 77 messages that pop up during that time period ranting about the Twins, and that's why I've had to mute some of these group threads. It's like,
Okay.
I don't need to be questioned about why are you and your friends so mad about the Twins' handling of Lamont Wade Jr. I don't want to have to explain that to my wife.
Well, but it's apparent why. And you're right. That's an important thing. Akil
Sean
Baddoo,
Anderson,
where are
you really thought Sean Anderson was going to
Yeah.
be valuable on the 40-man? Akil Baddoo is about to win Rookie of the Year in the American League second-round pick, and you guys just
Akil Baddoo, where are you?
don't put him on the
Yes.
40-man roster?
It's terrible.
Ridiculous.
I'm with you. I'm pissed off right now.
Who do you keep texting? Jake from State Farm? No, it's my buddies on my
Khakis.
Twins
Yeah.
thread.
Yeah.
That's exactly right. Anyway, Eddie Rosario at Red Cow,
Yeah.
to me, is a pretty good scoop.
It is. Look at you. This is a good man.
I'm trying. I'm moving up in this Minnesota landscape. I'm trying.
Doogie
I'm
just
trying.
brought 30 minutes of scoops, and Declan had the top scoop. And Doogie brought some good stuff there.
There was some
Declan
good
had
stuff
You
the
did
top
bring
scoop.
some good stuff.
Thank you.
This Wolves stuff is, again, the Wolves offseason consistently and always more fun, usually, than their on-court theatrics.
It is. And I'll tell you, I am irrationally optimistic and excited for the Wolves' future, watching what we're watching with the Hawks and the Suns, and even what the Jazz have put together the last 2 or 3 years with Donovan Mitchell. It seems like more teams are making bigger jumps than usual,
Yes.
and I think part of it's because of injuries, part of it's because the last 2 years have just been wonky. So maybe we'll settle back in, and it'll be there'll be like 2 dynasties and everybody else. But right now, the fact that the league is this wide open, somebody wrote about this, the comparison between the NFL and the NBA, and that the NFL rarely, like the Patriots were a dynasty, but even the Patriots went like 10 years between Super Bowl championships, and it's just, regardless of who's playing in the Super Bowl, it's always, the playoffs are always fun. It's always kind of wide open with some favorites.
Yep.
And the NFL isn't reliant on like a face of the NFL. Like if Tom Brady retires tomorrow, we're not going to be looking around like, oh my God, what are we going to do? No, like, it's fine. For a while, it was like Michael Jordan retires. Oh my God, the NBA is screwed. LeBron James is out. Oh my God, the NBA is screwed. The NBA is fun right now.
That's
and
great.
I hope the Wolves join that party to some extent in 2021-22.
When's the last time that this league had a crop of potential young stars this strong too? Because
it's
like
nuts.
there's a lot,
It's
like there's
nuts.
a lot of guys now. It feels like it used to be there was a group of guys, right? Like 5 guys, right? At the most, and that there was a LeBron or an MJ, and that was the dominant figure.
Yeah.
This playoff now, to me, is revealing a variety of guys that
Yes.
can be stars and are fun and are probably appreciated by different people. So yeah, if you are the commissioner, I think you're thrilled about this.
It is a blast. I mean, Trae Young is sort of the next generation Steph Curry here, right? Like he's basically looks and plays the same. He's diminutive, about 6'1". He shoots from anywhere. He scored 48 points last night and brought them back from down, and he's probably not even one of the 6 or 7 first people you think of when you think of like top players going into the playoffs here. Donovan
wasn't
Mitchell,
previously.
Devin
Yep.
Booker, right? So yeah, it's super fun. And listen, the door, I'm not going to say it's wide open because like Luka Doncic is going to bounce back with the Mavericks and whatnot, but the door is at least cracked for the Wolves to get in the mix in the Western Conference, to get in the
Yes.
mix. So
And
we'll see.
the thing that I think is so valuable as well is this group of young players embraces fun, and like they'll trash talk, but they have fun and they bring attitude. Like it's everything that you want now, because it's not, I think the majority of players now in pro sports are past the I'm offended. You can't, you're a young player. You can't do that. And it feels like the smart sports like basketball are transitioning to a Trae Young or a Booker. Those guys can carry themselves in a way that makes it fun to watch. It's the equivalent of if baseball would just accept bat flips.
Yeah. No,
Like
it's true.
Tatis, like if Tatis was just the norm. So I think it's great.
Dude,
I think it's
here's-
great for the sport.
Real quick here, I've got the NBA playoff stats up. Here are players 27 and younger. Okay, 20. So guys who are either not even in their prime yet or are emerging into their prime. 27 and younger, who have averaged 25 points per game or more in this year's playoffs. So just this year's playoff teams, not counting guys who missed the playoffs, right? Dylan Brooks with Memphis, Joel Embiid, Devin Booker, Giannis, Jokic, the MVP. Bradley Beal is only 27. Ja Morant's 21, averaged 30 points in 5 playoff games with Memphis.
And he's got a real good chance to pop up here.
Yep. Trae Young, Jason Tatum, Donovan Mitchell, and Luka Doncic. Those are all dudes under the age of 27 who have averaged 25 points or more in this year's playoffs. And notice, then there's like the layer of Hall of Famers on top. Kevin Durant, LeBron James, Steph Curry, like Kawhi Leonard, Chris Paul, that we talk about all the time. So it's been fun. And I think there's a lot of people that still think like, no one cares about basketball in Minnesota. They would just move the Wolves out already. No, man.
So
there
wrong.
are a lot of people that I would venture to say that if the Wolves were giving you relevant basketball for the same amount of time as the Wild gave you relevant hockey, like neither team won a championship, but the Wild were competitive and good and splashy in trades and free agency, that I think people would feel much more differently. But, basketball fans in the state of Minnesota are just wandering through the desert. They just want anything, literally just be the 10 seed and play a play-in game, for God's sakes. Just give us something.
If the Wolves or Gophers were relevant and really good, because, that's the thing is, people forget, Clem's Gophers, ratings-wise, killed. They did fantastic. People just want one of those two teams to be good. They'll pack the barn. They'll pack the arena. They will watch the games. But, this is a really good basketball town, but you have to at least be relevant. You can't just be bad all the time.
Yep. So we're going to, Wild and Wolves, so many things that could potentially happen this offseason for both franchises.
Reckless speculation.
And if the Twins don't do something interesting, like win a bunch of games or make a bunch of trades soon, then they will fall even further behind in the relevancy standings here. But we got you covered on Mackey and Judd, Judd's Hockey Show. And if you haven't already, subscribe to one of our 2 YouTube channels, Score North MN and Purple Daily Podcast, and we'll get you daily videos, daily Minnesota sports entertainment. And for tomorrow, Judd, did you wind up finding while you were sleeping somewhere for
I'm
Rom-Com
going to watch it
Rewind?
today. Yeah,
I'm gonna watch it
Prime
today.
had it. Yep.
All right. I know you were having some problems
I was
finding
having
this
some problems finding
mid-90s
it.
rom-com classic.
It's on Disney.
I have Disney Plus.
Disney Plus had it, and I don't have Disney Plus, and I don't want to subscribe to Disney Plus.
Disney Plus is amazing.
But I'm going to get it because I think that they're going to have some hockey stuff once ESPN wants to transition. So I will get it eventually. But yeah, I just, you know what? Why doesn't Xfinity just have the damn film for $3.99 themselves? They have most films. That's what I want. Just make it as easy as possible for me. Like, make my work easier. I'm willing to pay for it.
Well, Amazon is
my
probably
choice
the easiest place to ever get anything.
And it's $3.99,
so
but my choice was to buy it too. It's like, I'm not going to buy this thing for $18.
But you didn't. You could rent it for $4.
I know, off of Prime, yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, but I'm
So,
just saying.
that's not really that different
I
from
just like to
Xfinity.
say, no, but I like to pick up my thing, my
God.
remote control and say.
What's the difference?
While you were, because it would have just popped up then, and then I had to go to the
one
Prime.
extra
No, I
thing.
do. No, it's 2 or 3
This
extra
is great,
things.
Judd.
It's 2
This is
extra
classic,
things.
Judd. Okay.
But anyway, I'm going to watch it today.
All right. I think you're going to feel differently about not wanting to buy the movie after you watch it. I think you're.
I
Gonna wanna
saw
buy
it.
the
I
movie
told
after
you.
watch
1995. The wife and I went to see it in the theater.
I love Sandra Bullock.
She was big back then.
Love Miss Sandra Bullock.
What was the one that she did? Was it 28 Days as well? It was a serious film about she was an alcoholic, I think, and checked
it.
herself
More
in
of
the
a
treatment.
miscongeniality.
I saw that one.
myself.
Yeah. That's a
Benjamin
great film.
Bratt. Benjamin Bratt was in that one.
Miscongeniality.
I think that's right after he left my show,
That's a
Law and
great
Order, which I binged yesterday again for the 9th.
Okay, Ross Brendel. Yeah.
Yeah, Ross and I are. Hey, Ross and I talk Law and Order
Yeah,
on his
I know you
podcast
do.
sometimes. Okay.
Just
you
keep
do.
your shirts on. All right. We'll see you guys tomorrow.
Oh
on
God,
Mackey.
yeah.